All right, today we're talking about something called LoRA. And trust me, it's a seriously clever technique that's totally changing the game for how we personalize these giant AI models. The ones that are reshaping our world. Let's just dive right in. So let's start with the big puzzle, right? Imagine you've got this massive AI, something like GPT-3, with its, 175 billion parameters. It's incredibly powerful, but it's kind of a jack of all trades. How do you turn it into a specialist? How do you make it an expert in your thing? Maybe that's legal contracts, or maybe it's a really specific artistic style, without, going completely broke on computing power. And that very question leads us right into our first big topic. Because these giant models, they come with some equally giant problems, especially when you try to get them to do something new. Okay, so the old school way of doing this is something called full fine-tuning. And honestly, it's a total brute force approach. You basically take the entire model and retrain everything. Every single one of its billions of parameters gets updated with your new data. I mean, sure, it works, but the cost, it's staggering. Let's put some numbers on this to make it real. To fully fine-tune even a small 7 billion parameter model, you'd need a GPU with more than 60 gigs of VRAM. That's way beyond what pretty much any of us have at home. And the storage, it gets even crazier. For every single new skill you want to teach it, you have to save a brand new full copy of the model. So if the base model is, say, 350 gigabytes, that's another 350 gigs for just one specialization. It's not practical at all. So you can see the problem. Full fine-tuning is kind of like rebuilding a car's entire engine just because you want it to handle corners a little better. There has to be a smarter way, right? Well, there is, and we're going to call it the screwdriver solution. And this quote right here just nails it. Think of that giant AI model as a super powerful high-tech screwdriver. Now, instead of forging a whole new screwdriver for every single type of screw, what if you could just swap out the bits? You could have a tiny bit for legal stuff, another for a specific art style, and maybe one for answering customer questions? That's exactly the idea behind LoRA. So if we get a little more formal, LoRA stands for low-rank adaptation. What it is, it's a technique where you inject these small, trainable little modules, these adapters or screwdriver bits, into the AI model that's already there. These adapters are the only things that learn the new skill. The huge original model, it stays exactly the same, completely untouched. Okay, so how does this actually work? It kind of sounds like magic, right? Let's pop the hood and take a quick look. I promise we'll keep it super simple. The whole process is actually, it's beautifully simple. First thing you do is you take that giant pre-trained model and you just freeze it. Nothing about it is going to change. Step 2, you slot in these tiny new adapter layers right alongside the original ones. And then, this is the key, you only train those new little layers. That's it. The big model brings the raw power, and the LoRA adapter brings the new specialized skill. Okay, so this diagram really helps visualize what's going on. That big blue box, the W, that's our original giant model. It's frozen, remember? Now, instead of messing with W at all, LoRA adds these two tiny little matrices, A and B, and those are the only things that get trained. So the final output is a mix of the original model's thinking and this new lightweight little detour. It's an efficient side road, not a total highway reconstruction. And the results of this approach they're absolutely mind-blowing. For example, when researchers tried this on GPT-3, LoRA cut the number of parameters they had to train from 75 billion all the way down to just 18 million. That is a 10,000-fold reduction. And here's the kicker. You get basically the same performance, but for a tiny fraction of the cost. So all this incredible efficiency, it's not just a cool technical trick. It completely unlocks a new world of possibilities. Let's talk about the payoff, what this actually means for all of us in the real world. Just look at this comparison for VRAM, for the graphics card memory. Remember that insane 60 gigabyte number for full fine-tuning? Well, with LoRA, that drops to 16 gigs. And with an even more efficient version called QLoRA, you're down to just 6 gigs. This is the game changer. This is what takes AI training out of the massive data centers and puts it right onto the computers we have at home. And the storage difference is just as wild. A fully fine-tuned version of GPT-3 is a monster 350 gigabyte file, but a LoRA adapter that teaches it a new skill, it's about 35 megabytes. You could fit thousands of those on a cheap USB stick. It makes these new skills super portable, easy to share, just so much easier to handle. Okay, so let's quickly recap the big wins here. First and most obviously, it makes fine-tuning cheap. Second, because you never touch the original model, it doesn't forget everything it already knows, which is a real problem called catastrophic forgetting. Third, you get these awesome modular swappable skills, our screwdriver bits. And finally, a cool little detail. When you're ready to use it, you can just merge the adapter in, so there's no extra lag or slowdown. It's just better in every way. So you can see all of this. This is so much more than just a neat bit of engineering. It is fundamentally changing the entire landscape for anyone creating or building with AI. If you take away just one thing from this, let it be this. LoRA has democratized AI customization, period. It takes the power to personalize these massive, planet-sized models away from just a handful of giant tech companies and puts it into the hands of, well, everyone. Artists, researchers, small businesses, you, me, anyone. And what does that actually look like in the real world? It means you can actually fine-tune a model on a regular gaming graphics card, like an RTX 3060. It's the reason we have this incredible, thriving ecosystem on places like Hugging Face, where people are sharing tens of thousands of these LoRAs. It means you can have an AI that switches jobs just by loading a tiny file. And it means we get truly personalized AI for all sorts of niche things, from helping doctors with medical records to creating art in the style of an artist no one's thought about for 100 years. So you see, LoRA isn't just some clever hack. It's a fundamental shift. It's what's putting the power to shape AI into all of our hands. And that really just leaves us with one final and I think really exciting question to ponder. If you could, what new skill would you teach an AI?